Hi, welcome to Community Focus, and we have a very, very special guest with us today. Is the Honorable Mayor Tyler, Mayor of the City of Muncie. How are you, Mayor?
Hi, Roger. Good to be here.
Well, you know, you're not a stranger to the studio
No,
here.
I'm not.
Throughout several years now. You've been in here several times.
Yes, I have. Thanks for having me again.
Well, I appreciate it, and people would like to know first, I mean, you're 2 years plus, about a month or so into your term as mayor. Tell us about what you think the high points are, and you've accomplished a lot of things. Tell us about that.
Sure, glad to. We'll talk about the high points first, and then we'll talk about this winter of 2014 after that. Some of the things that I'm very proud of that we've done beginning immediately after we took office in 2012 was getting the 2 fire stations reopened that were in great need of being reopened. The one over here on Martin Luther King Boulevard, and then the one at 21st and Walk, and then putting together a program then designating all of our fire stations to be safe stations and having 24-hour-a-day access for children and people that may be being threatened or bullied or whatever the issue is that they're feeling challenged with, to get them in there to where we could interview them and find out exactly what they're needing and how they're needing it, and get them to the channel to the proper authorities. Working with Police Chief Steve Stewart to get more police officers out on the street and getting us some new vehicles to have better access and quicker access out on the streets. You know, we've started reconstructing City Hall. City Hall was in horrible shape, and hopefully we'll have all that done in the next few months. The South Madison Gateway project that had lain dormant for many years. The bids have been let on that, the construction on all of that out there on South Madison. Heading in north up to 29th and Madison is set to begin this spring. That's a great project. The University Village Promenade project, that's a $60+ million project going on out in the University Village area. That's will have student housing and retail shops on the first floor with a parking garage there. That's a great project. You know, we've worked extremely hard to clear up a lot of streets in the city that have many trees right in the middle of the sidewalks, to where handicap access, wheelchair access, and that people can't get up and down the sidewalks. We've worked extremely hard to eliminate as many of them as we can. We're continuing to work on it. It's a very, very expensive process to do, Roger, as you know, coming from the background that you're from, that's a very expensive process. We, in our first 2 years, we paved 52 linear miles of streets in the city of Muncie. Linear miles goes this way. That's not counting linear miles that have 3 and 4 and 5 lane in that street. But 52 miles of that. We're planning on doing another 25 to 30 miles this year. That's a lot of miles. I'm very proud of that. The challenge is when you have 450 linear miles of roads and streets in the city of Muncie, 25 miles a year, Roger, don't take a mathematician to tell you, you know, by the time usually that you're caught up and you're through that cycle, you're starting all over again. But we just got a lot of things going on like that. You know, we've got a new handicap access, swimming facility, bathhouse going in and out of Prairie Creek that's going to be just a fantastic addition to that public park out there. You know, we now have many programs for children and seniors in our parks that we didn't have just 3 years ago. Many great partners that have worked with us on those types of programs. You know, this last summer we had kids at the Ross Community Center learning judo and jiu-jitsu that have never had an opportunity to do that before. We had kids at the Bewley Center and Ross Center, young little girls learning how to play violins. I mean, you know, and then we had mentoring programs for older boys and girls, along with our normal summer programs. You know, the horseshoe pits are scheduled to be reopened this summer at Heacon Park, and most people know, if they're my age or close to it and like horseshoes, at one time it was some of the finest horseshoe pits in the state of Indiana, and we intend to have those be just that again. Our ARC Hotel and Training Center project in downtown Muncie is right on track to be breaking ground sometime this April or May, and scheduled to be completed sometime in May or June of 2015 for summer conventions and tourism. So just a lot of good things going on all over the city. We've got 2 new projects getting prepared to start on the south side of Muncie. A development project at Tillotson and West Memorial, and then the Indiana American Water Company redevelopment over on Burlington Drive. Couple projects, there hasn't been those types of projects on the south side for a number of years, so I'm very excited about that. And we've got some building permits for some site locations out on the south side of Muncie for some development. So there's a lot of good things going on wherever you go throughout the city.
A lot of projects.
A lot of projects. It's really nice, when you have people coming into town, talking about as they're driving through town to see so many people working, and those projects and those infrastructure projects and those types of projects, Roger, they're job creators. They create the jobs for the people that are constructing them, and then they create jobs for availability after that. So
God knows we need jobs.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And that's the focus of my administration, just like any other mayor's administration, is what can we do to bring decent paying jobs into our community, and what projects can we put together that will attract developers and investors, and these quality of life and quality of place projects are exactly what developers and investors want to see. Mm-hmm. They want to know how you're partnering between the community and the university. How's the community partnering between the foundations and other organizations? What type of programs do you have in your parks? How does everybody get along in your community? And what are you doing to rebuild your infrastructure with quality of life and quality of place projects? And there's not a developer or investor that I've talked to in the last year that's not important to them.
It sends that, excuse me, that beacon up to say, hey, we're a viable community.
It does, and again, it's an exciting time to be a Munsonian. 2 years ago in 2012, Dick's Sporting Goods really wasn't interested in Muncie. Right. And now here we are, this fall, we'll have a Dick's Sporting Goods. That will be another anchor for out on East McGalliard with additional development going on out in that area. So, those types of things are very exciting. And the more development that we do like that, the more progressive we get with job opportunities and bringing in new development dollars. And that's what people want to see.
Well, I know you're a busy person because I'm in and out of City Hall a lot, and you're always going to meetings and working very hard at trying to make Muncie better. Kudos for that.
Thank you.
And I know this winter we've had a very, very severe winter, probably one of the most we've had. And coming from a public safety background as you do, I know you was right out front there making sure people were safe. You want to tell them about that?
Sure, and you're right, it's been a long winter. It's been a very long winter.
And that fire feels good.
It feels very good, and we're still dealing with it, and as nice as it feels outside right now, you was just telling me before we started the show that it's going to be rather cold again next week, but we did try to get out front on this in a number of different ways. One of the things that I learned from my public safety background is pre-planning different types of emergencies and different types of situations and preparing for them. So if and when it happens, you hope it never does, but if it does happen, you're prepared to deal with it. And when back in latter part of December, first part of January, we knew we was going to have that major snowstorm coming in. We did all of our due diligence and all of our research with all the different weather related experts that we had to assure us that we was going to get hit rather hard. We was going to have at least 8 to 10, maybe 12 to 13 inches. And then coming right in on top of that, we was going to have extreme cold to where it could get down to as low as 45 below zero with the wind chill factor. Well, that concerned me greatly, knowing that we was going to have a challenge on our hands. And how do we deal with that? People, when it gets that cold, I don't have to tell you and others, you have the opportunity of losing power. You have people that, for whatever reason, may be displaced or may already be displaced for their home, that may need emergency shelter assistance. So on the Friday, preparing for what was going to hit Muncie on Saturday and Sunday, and then really on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday of that following week, I brought my fire chief and police chief together and other people. We started talking, how do we prepare for this, and what do we need to do to make sure that Muncie is cared for as best as we can care for them. And one of the things that we thought about doing, well, maybe we can work with the Center Township Trustee's office, and maybe she could make her Mansfield Park building available if we needed it for emergency shelter and that. So we had her reach out to Susie Kemp with Bridges and other people within that community that works with emergency shelter assistance to see exactly what we need to do and how we need to do it. And what I decided to do around 3 o'clock on that Friday afternoon, getting prepared 48 hours in advance, we wanted to do a little testing on it. Effective on Saturday at 8 a.m., we made City Hall available 24 hours a day for emergency shelter assistance, and did the same thing with all the fire stations in the city of Muncie. Give us an opportunity to begin to get prepared for the horrible weather that we knew that we had coming our way. And what we wanted to do, Roger, is make sure that wherever somebody was at in the city, if they had an emergency and they need to get in out of the weather and they needed to get some assistance, we had a phone triage set up that we could begin to get them connected to the right caregiver that they needed to get to. It was very interesting, but you know, we use a lot of social media in the city of Muncie for emergency notifications and that. And as a matter of fact, we're preparing to do something even much better than that going forward in the next 2 or 3 months. But that's what we had in January. And Friday afternoon, when we put out the social media network through public access channel, through the radio stations, through the paper media networks, and Twitter and Facebook and everything else, just on our Twitter account for the city of Muncie, from 3:30 Sunday afternoon to 11:30 Sunday morning, when I left to go up to the emergency management meeting for everybody, we'd had 22,000 hits on that. So we knew so we knew it was working, and it did work. You know, we had a few families and a few people that came in and needed shelter assistance, and it worked. What we learned is we need a better system in place, like most cities do and don't have. We want to take ours to the next level. So now we're working with those same organizations, Christian Ministries, the YWCA, A Better Way, Bridges, and the Center Township Trustee's Office, and others. We're going to have a system put in place that at a moment's notice, if we have an emergency situation, our police officers and our firefighters will know exactly the protocol that they need to get this family or get whoever it is that needs that assistance. And I just think it shows that Muncie is a very caring and very intuitive community on the networking the way that we should to get people help in a moment's notice.
I know a lot of people following your lead stepped up to the plate and helped out with that.
Yeah.
And just, it was good to know and good to see that people were getting taken care of.
Yeah. I'll tell you, one of the chuckling things about that is there was a few people that, when this all started on Friday and Saturday, that was being rather critical of us making those decisions that early, that on how we was going to do this, and on Saturday making the determination to close City Hall on Monday. And say, well, you know, why would you be doing that 48 hours in advance? You don't even know if it's going to snow, and on and on and on. You know, and just a lot of critical comments, but all those critical comments went away when everything hit, and saw that because you know the worst that could have happened if the snow didn't come and it wasn't snowing Sunday. All we got to do is send out a phone blitz to all of our city employees to show up to work Monday. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, you know, that was really a no-brainer, right. And it wasn't difficult. What I wanted to do is I didn't want to wait to the last minute to notify people that it's going to be bad, it's going to be dangerous. You need to get your children taken care of, and you need to make sure that you stay in a safe, secure place. I didn't want to wait till late Sunday night or early Monday morning, not knowing at that time what the schools were going to do and what other agencies were going to do. I wanted to make sure that my employees could keep themselves safe and keep their children safe.
Well, that's basically planning for the worst and hoping for the best.
And I said that every day, Roger, every day. When I talk to people, we're planning for the worst and we're hoping for the best. And the problem is we ended up with the worst, but I think we came through it very well. We had trucks out from early Sunday, all literally splitting up shifts, running 24 hours a day with street department crews and sanitary district crews, and keeping our streets passable for emergency operations and people that really did need to be out on the streets. I didn't want to call a snow emergency, but I was really left with no option Sunday afternoon when I started getting calls from my police officers and firefighters and emergency management that our emergency personnel is having a hard time getting through the city because the public will not give them the right of way. Mm-hmm. That's the reason I decided to go on and call the snow emergency, and it worked. The public really got it, and they did get off the streets, and probably for 24 hours we looked like a ghost town.
It kind of did, but it needed to.
But it did need to look that way, and it really gave us the opportunity for our crews to get out there and really get the streets as cleared as they could and as passable as they could.
And those crews, and I've heard many scores of people say what a great job they did, because not only did they plow some snow, the streets were very passable.
Yeah. It was hard to do because the snow came in. We had the warm weather, then it turned cold, then the snow came in, then it froze, then it started breaking up, then we had the thaw, and then it froze, and they probably had 4 to 6 inches of ice, Roger, after the snow, and then that cold hit. Well, as you know, that salt treatment will not work when it's that cold.
No.
Even with the sun beating down on it, it's not going to work like it should.
It has to be around 27 degrees and rising.
So what the guys were doing is they was going out and they was laying that treatment. They'd let it work as best they could. They'd wait a few hours. They'd go back out and they'd plow, but they may only scrape that much.
Right.
And we probably had that much of ice on the streets,
Mm-hmm.
and all of that just made it very difficult to get them cleared. But they did, and they were cleared and they were passable. But then immediately after that, when the thaw came, with all that going on and that compression and that thawing and freezing, is what's just not only the city of Muncie, but every city across the Midwest, their streets are just exploding with potholes.
I've been out with the crews when they was working on the streets with all the snow, and out while they're working on potholes, and you're very right. It's not just here in Muncie; it's all over.
Sure it is.
I've looked at other news channels, every place. Indiana's been hit hard this year.
Oh, absolutely.
It's one of the worst winters we've had, and I know that. And I was out with Duke this morning. They're doing you and him are doing your due diligence to try to find ways to solve the problem.
Yeah, it is so difficult because, with all the snow, all the freezing, all the rain, the ground is so saturated, and it saturated from the bottom up, and then we have roads and streets that still have a brick base to them,
Right.
and those bricks move, and they allow that moisture to come up in between them, and then that moisture gets into the pothole. And to be very effective with what you're trying to do in patching those potholes, you need to get it blown out in as clear of water as you can. Cold mix just doesn't work very well in it, and it's been a battle. Madison Street is a good example. We have literally patched Madison Street 4 times since the first of the year, and if you drive down it right now, you'd swear to God that we hadn't touched it. But it's that way all over. Now what we did do is we got busy, and we found a company down around Edinburgh, Indiana, that they have a different emulsion mix with an aggregate that is much stickier and much more porous, that we think is going to work much more efficiently on these potholes. They just delivered some Friday afternoon around 2:30, and we'll be out tonight and we'll have 3 or 4 crews out tomorrow. We'll have them out again Sunday. We'll have them out again Monday, and that company will be delivering another batch of that to us the first of the week. And if it's working as good as we think it's going to work, we'll really be able to begin to make some headway on these potholes. And then we need to sit down, and we're going to have to redesign our paving plan for this year to come up with some better ways to try and alleviate some of these problems. Maybe we don't do maybe it's a 4-lane street that we don't do the entire 4 lanes. Maybe we do the 2 outside lanes, or we do the 2 inside lanes, and then we come back the next year and do the 2 outside lanes. But I think there's some things that we can do. We just need to sit down with our paving contractors and our engineers and see how we can get the most efficient paving program put together for our cost. And again, you know, we've paved 52 miles of streets the first 2 years. We intend to do at least 25 to 30 miles additional streets this year, and if I can find a little bit more money, we'll do even more.
Emulsion's a very sticky the substance, liquid that goes in the aggregates, and you know, that might help.
Yeah. I talked to Duke right before I got over here to come in to talk to you, and he said this new emulsion that they've got, that you can literally, it's so sticky and it's so porous that you can literally pat it right into a black ball. So that tells me, and it tells him, that once they get the main flow of water out, you know, you can't go in and put that on water that's 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 inches deep. But if you get the water blown out and then get it cleared out, everything that the distributor is telling us in Edinburgh, it'll adhere to that and it'll hold it. And if it does, that will really help solve our problems. Now, it's quite a bit more expensive than regular cold patch mix, but I think that it's deserving of us paying that extra dollar to get that in here and do it. You know, we've got a lot of people, and it's certainly not their fault, that are having issues with their tires and their vehicles, and the city of Muncie intends to make all that right with them. You know, it's not our fault that these streets are blowing up, but it's certainly not the citizens' fault either that these streets are blowing up, and we're going to do everything we can to help them take care of their vehicle problems.
I think the citizens will welcome you know, the tax money, paying a few extra bucks to fix these streets.
I hope so. Again, you know, it makes good sense. I haven't. I've been here all my life, and I haven't seen anything like this in my adult lifetime where I've paid attention to it. It just happened overnight, you know. And then, and again, it's not just Muncie. You go to Anderson, it's that way. You go to Newcastle. I was in Indianapolis twice this week. It's horrible, just absolutely horrible. I was right going into downtown Indianapolis, right there at 16th and Meridian. 2 cars broke down right in the middle of the intersection. You know, but it's everywhere. You know, it's north and south here in Indiana, and it's been that type of winter. You know, I believe that our area has the highest snowfall total that we've had in 30 years.
I bet so.
Yeah.
Well, and Indiana is indicative to that weather change, because just look at last night, it was almost 60 degrees. We had a tornado watch.
Yeah.
Thunderstorms.
Oh yeah.
And then this morning it's cold, and the temperature, surface temperature of the street that we were working on was 28 degrees, and it was blowing snow.
Oh yeah, I looked outside once this morning, and it was snowing like the dickens, you know. And again, that is so hard on our infrastructure.
It is. That
thawing and freezing and thawing and freezing, and then you throw the rain in on top of it, and then 3 foot of snow that's been laying there for, you know, weeks and weeks, and it's so hard on it. A friend of mine called me the other day, and he was talking about, he's in Florida, and he was telling me it was 50 degrees, and he said it may get down to 45 tonight. He said, man, these people don't know what to do down here. And I told Calvin, I said, if you think I'm going to feel sorry for you, 45 and 50 degree weather, buddy, forget it.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
You're not kidding. Yeah, it felt like a heat wave when it got up to 50 here the day before yesterday.
It did.
Yeah.
It felt warm. I said, it's the first time in a month or so the air hadn't hurt my face.
Oh yeah, golly edge. Well, you know, the Monday that I closed City Hall during that weather disaster, I'm sitting up there and I'm getting ready to talk to the Indianapolis television stations, and I checked my weather channel on my phone, and at that time in downtown Muncie, with the wind chill factor, it was 45 degrees below zero. You know, and you worry so much about people being out in that. And
that's dangerous.
Oh, it's so dangerous, you know, within a matter of minutes, you know, your skin literally starts freezing, and that's why it was so important for us to have City Hall open. That is our building. Makes sense. It's right in the middle of the downtown. And then those neighborhood fire stations, if somebody, God forbid, did lose power, you know, and we did have quite a few. I think we had over 700 or 1,000 properties in Muncie and Delaware County at one time was without power. Power lines are coming down Sunday evening, and that's before, you know, the big freeze came in on top of it. So we knew that we needed to be prepared, and we were. And thank God it all worked out. We didn't have any fatalities. We was able to get people that emergency shelter assistance as quickly as we could when they needed it, and it was just, you know, the Salvation Army stepped up. Again, all the other entities stepped up. Emergency management worked with us. Red Cross worked with us. It was a great collaboration of people caring about this community and wanting to help each other.
And not only, and I got to give you another kudo on this, but not only was the city looking out for the people, is looking out for the pets and animals. Because all the messages that we were putting out was, you know, take care of your pets.
We was offering emergency shelter to people that didn't have a place to get their pets inside. Phil and his group, the animal care and shelter, did a great job of getting out and getting them assistance, and then we ended up getting a facility opened at the Delaware County Fairgrounds if it was needed, and it all really worked well. It all really worked well, and again, we got a lot of people here, buddy, that care about their pets, and that meant a lot to them, just knowing that somebody else was thinking about their pets, not just them.
Yeah, I heard a lot of kudos on that. We was bringing our pets.
Oh yeah.
And they got one of the best dog houses in,
in
the county, but it's just too cold.
Oh, it's horrible, man. I mean, it just, you know, it's hard to imagine what 45 degrees below zero feels like. You know, you know, we're not used to that.
It's like here. Antarctica.
Yeah, but we was very fortunate. We didn't have any tragic fires. Everything worked out very well. You know, and again, just to show you how we try to do things maybe a little bit different. You know, we had a gentleman on Monday that called my office while I was up there, and he is on dialysis, and he needed to be out to the facility on Tuesday morning to get his dialysis treatment. He didn't know how he was going to get out there. Well, my fire chief, Ed Bell, Ed got up at 5:30 in the morning, took his vehicle over, picked that gentleman up, took him out for his dialysis, waited on him to get done, and took him home.
That don't surprise me about Eddie Bell.
No, don't surprise me either. But again, that's the side of public service and public servants that so many people don't see, and we are so fortunate in our community that our public servants, our public safety officers, and others, they care. I mean, those street department men and women, you know, they is out on them streets 14, 16, 18 hours a day working, beating themselves to death in those old antiquated trucks, and I mean just beating themselves to death, Roger, to get these streets open for people to be able to travel on them. And it really made me feel good though when I would talk to those street department employees and people that was waving at them and giving them a thumbs up. That told me that people really appreciated what they were doing, and that meant a lot to them. They know they're getting paid for what they do, but it meant a lot to them that they saw the public was appreciating what they was trying to do for them too.
And had the public support on it.
It had the public support, yeah, absolutely.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And you know, what a time during all this for us to come up with the propane shortage.
Oh yeah, yeah, we did. You know, we started getting phone calls in my office that Monday. people tell me, most of them lived in the county, that about the propane shortage, and they couldn't get any. And a supplier that wasn't their customer wouldn't deliver to them. And I think that some of the things that's happened too is some of those suppliers' rates went up rather tremendously, and that's too bad. That's really too bad. You hate to see people profit, whoever it is, from here to there, somewhere along the line. Something really went wrong in that for people to be paying 2 and 3 times as much as they normally do in that process.
I know people that had to go without propane.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, we had one of the issues that you always have with that, whether it's in the city or out of the city, people start heating with other alternatives. And one of the issues that we had here in Muncie was there was a family that was heating with a salamander in their house. And it almost become a tragedy. That's not meant for heating in a home without proper ventilation. And it was very close to being a very, very serious tragedy. Thank God that the fire department was notified and they got over there. But I mean, those kids in there and everything, their lungs and noses and that were just full of black soot. But that's what happens, when things get tough like that. People they don't think about turning something on like that. They think about staying warm. And well, I know we had a lady out in I believe in Fraser Mobile Home Park, out off of Regan Road, and she was disabled and she was heating with her gas stove because her furnace wouldn't work. And so I was able to get a hold of Commnity Heating and Cooling, and they very promptly got out there and helped that lady. And it's another story about how good people are in Muncie. When I got a hold of Mark Commnity to get out there and take a look at that, and they called me and told me what it would be, I told them to go on and fix it. So they got it done, and they called me back and they told me what it was, and I said okay. And they said, where do you want us to send that? And I said, we'll send it to my home at 4300 North Manchester. And they said, oh, so you mean you're going to pay for this? And I said, oh, yeah, I intend to pay for it. And she said, well, hold on a minute, I'll call you back. And I was, oh, good, maybe they're going to, give me a cut rate deal on it or something. They called me back 5 minutes later and said there will be no charge.
Really?
Yeah. Said if you are willing to take that out of your pocket, we're willing to take it out of ours too.
Good for you.
Yeah, and that the family of that lady and everybody was just so thankful. Yeah. But that's a great thing about Muncie. People. We got such a great group of people here that really care about each other, and they don't mind stepping up to the plate to help their fellow man and fellow citizen.
That's a very good thing.
It is. It's so cool. I just had a group of potential developers and investors in the other night. Excuse me. And we was talking about challenges and that, and we all had the same challenges: jobs and infrastructure and those types of things. And they asked me one of the things that, if I could, one thing that I was so proud of about my community and what really made it special above others. And I told them the people. Just the people and the philanthropy of our community with our foundations and all of that, and the way people will volunteer and give back to each other. And I believe that. I think that really sets us apart from a lot of other communities.
It does. I mean, I've gone to a lot of different meetings, and there's just a lot of good people that step up.
Yes, there is. Yeah, and usually you don't even have to ask them to. They'll make a phone call. When we was doing what we were doing at City Hall in the fire stations, I cannot tell you how many people called and wanted to know, do you need bedding supplies? Do you need food? Is there anything that we can bring you to help out? And we didn't need anything, and we told them no, but thank you, and if we need it, we'll post it. And they said, well, if you do, let us know and we'll get it to you. Yeah, it's just what we do here in Muncie.
I noticed one thing, of course, why wouldn't I notice it? It's what I do, but last year you was able to hook up with AT&T Uverse and now our public access is on both Comcast and
Yeah.
AT&T Uverse, and we're
Yeah.
simulcasting both of those from our
Yeah.
Ultra Nexus out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And that's a very good thing, because that gives us a big footprint now.
Well, it does. It gives us a huge footprint, not just over Muncie and Delaware County, but all over East Central Indiana
Mhm.
and Central Indiana, as far as that goes. And you know, we knew when we walked into the office that we had Comcast. We thought that there was ways that it could be done in a much better way to get a much better message about Muncie and our community out. And we was able to work with a lot of good people to get that started. And then I had a very strong working relationship with the leadership of AT&T corporate headquarters in Indiana when I was in the Indiana General Assembly. And I made a phone call one day down there, and I said, what can we do to get AT&T Uverse here into the Muncie, Delaware County area? And they said, you just did it, you asked us. And I said, well, great, how long will it take? And they said, well, let us get some people in there, and we'll meet with your IT people and see what we can get done. And the great part about that is, Roger, what we're doing on Comcast now, we are, like you said, we're doing it on AT&T Uverse now, and it's free to their customers. So they get a chance to see what's going on in Muncie and in the community, and keeps them updated. You have weather emergencies on there. You have the other types of public safety emergency notifications that are on there. It's a great way for people to stay informed and stay informed rather quickly on what's going on here. Not what's going on in Indianapolis, but what's going on here.
And the Ultra Nexus and that software has been a very good tool on that. And when you asked me, is this possible to do that? Looking through there and said, yeah, we can do all this.
Yeah.
Get messages out
Yeah.
instantaneously.
Yeah, yeah, and we're working on a way to greatly improve that access to the public too, for emergency notifications and everything. And I'm very excited about that. It's very important for us to be able to do that and do it in the right way. And I think what we're doing and the way we're moving forward with that, we're going to have a notification system here in the city of Muncie that will be state of the art, and I think our citizens will greatly appreciate it.
That could get instant messaging anytime something's going on.
Yeah, yeah. But I think they'll greatly appreciate it. Yeah.
In the middle of your term, what stands out the most to you is what you've been able to do as mayor of Muncie?
I think probably what excites me more than anything is the way that we've been able to bring people together. People from all walks of life and all political walks of life, from a higher economic income opportunity to lower income individuals. But I think that we've really worked well with everybody to bring everybody together. I'm not one about wanting to pat myself on the back or one that wants to sit there and micromanage. But when you have great foundations and you have great volunteers and you have a lot of sharp minds with a lot of great ideas, our university community partnership with Ball State is just phenomenal today. The things that we're doing together, and when you do all those things, it greatly enhances the opportunity for our community to grow and become a much better place to live, work, and play, and raise children. And that's probably one of the things that I'm most proud of. We've got a lot of good things going on. We've got a lot of new development going on. I think the other day the building commissioner told me that I think we had building permits that totaled a little over $65 million last year.
Really?
I look for us to be that much, maybe quite a bit more than that this year. All of that is development that excites me, and it's good, and it's hopefully we'll have job opportunities tied to it. But at the end of the day, again, I think it's what we're doing, working together to improve quality of life and quality of place in our community, and all of us working together to do that. That's so important. I just had a Black History Month community forum last Tuesday at church over on East Willard Street, and we probably had 80 to 90 people there. well, that's what I want to see. And you was there filming it, and we had great discussion.
A lot of good
The
questions.
Yeah, very good questions, very good comments. But you never know what is going to mean something to quality of life and quality of place to a neighborhood. But one of the things that they were so appreciative of, not just the paving and sidewalks and that, but how we had taken Willard Street down through there, and we went through there, and we'd taken all the trees out of the middle of the sidewalks. So people with wheelchairs can now get down those sidewalks on Willard Street. Well, maybe you and I wouldn't think that much of that, but that meant something to them because that's their neighborhood, and there was 2 people in that meeting that were in wheelchairs.
Right.
So that that meant something to them, and I appreciate that did mean something to them.
Plus, those trees were busting up the sidewalks.
Busting up the sidewalks, and every time you take a tree out, and then root it out, and that you're talking of a minimum of $10,000 to take it out, grind it out, and replace the sidewalk. A minimum of $10,000.
And I know I've talked to Duke about this, and you mentioned it at that very meeting you're talking about, is using in some cases asphalt to do the sidewalks,
Yeah.
basically paving them, which is I think is a good idea.
Yeah.
I've done that before in my past history of
Yeah.
paving roads and things,
Yeah.
and it works very well. It's less expensive in most cases.
Yeah.
And asphalt, even though we're having pothole problems, is more pliable, where a lot of times concrete, like in sidewalks, when it's not very thick, breaks up.
It does, and again, it's much more economical. And if it's in sidewalk areas and that really doesn't have any vehicular traffic on them, from driveways and that coming through them, they'll last 15, 20, 25 years if you install them properly. My thought is, again, in doing that, if we have the process in place this year, is we'll be able to create more sidewalks, and we'll be able to repair more sidewalks, and that's that's a dream of mine, is more sidewalks for our children to have safe routes to school, for people to be able to walk out of their home and maybe walk down to the grocery store, or walk out of their home and walk someplace else that they need to be, and be able to walk back if they choose to. It really bothers me when I'm driving around my community and I see children walking to and from school and are having to walk in the street because we don't have a sidewalk area.
And I know you mentioned this, I've heard you mention it, we've all talked about it some, but being able to set sidewalks up where we can clear them with the snow.
Yes.
So that's why a lot of people, as you've seen, was walking in the streets.
And
it's
it
just
is
hard to clear that snow.
It is,
off
and
of them.
it's very difficult, and I'd really like to have something in place. Hopefully this will never happen again, but if it does, I'd really like to have something in place that we could have a better partnership with the property owners on how we do some of that cleaning. But I've really paid a lot of attention to Ball State and the opportunities that they utilize out there in their designs of their sidewalks and that, and they design their sidewalks for snow removal, Roger.
Right.
They design their sidewalks for bicycle access and more pedestrian access. Most of the sidewalks that they design out there are pretty close to 8 foot wide, and then that gives them good wheelchair access if they need it, very good handicap access, opportunities for bicycles and pedestrians to not bother each other if they want to do that. But then the better part about that is then they can buy equipment that they can buy, these little miniature tractors with the adapters that they can put on them, that they can have a little plow on the front of it, or they can have a brush blade it'll clear that sidewalk off.
I took some video of one this very morning.
Did you? Well,
I'd
I'd really like to take a look at that and see, that might be a way that we could get the entire downtown area cleared off rather quickly. If we could get a partnership going and work it out with the downtown merchants and the sanitary district and the street department and that, and come up with a way to do that. And then the other thing I like about that, if we can find the resources to do it, is then we can turn around and use those miniature tractors in our parks and in some other areas, and doing some things that would help us do a better job for the citizens in some other areas.
I already know the answer to this question, but I gotta ask it. But you, obviously, you feel that your background as state representative, you made a lot of connections down there. You learned your way around dealing with government and all that has helped you be with what you're doing as mayor.
Oh, without a doubt, Roger. And I could even take it farther back than that, from being a professional firefighter here in Muncie and learning how to work with people and understanding their needs and that. But the one thing I learned in that Indiana General Assembly, you can't get anything done in a proactive way if you can't walk across the aisle and work with somebody. You're always going to have those little personal differences on some philosophical and social issues and that, but if you're going to be effective as a leader and a political leader, you've got to be able to walk across that aisle, put your differences aside to work for the betterment of whatever that issue is, and I'm willing to do that for whatever the betterment of my community is. And I think that anybody you talk to in this community, I would hope they would tell you that I've done that. You know, the first week that I was in office in 2012, I was meeting with Judd Fisher and his foundation, you know, and they were wanting to talk about how can we make Muncie a better place to live, work, and play, and we've continued to do that ever since, whether it's with foundations or boards or CEP or Muncie Arts and Culture Council or the Muncie Symphony Orchestra or the Muncie Hometown Band or whatever it is. You know, we've worked together to try and help Muncie become a better place. You know, it's the same way with working with Ball State. You know, I worked with them very well when I was in the Indiana General Assembly, and it was just a very easy transition for me to go from the General Assembly into the mayor's office and reach right out to Ball State. And they welcomed us with open arms, and we've just, you know, again, we've got some great projects going on with them and more coming that are just going to be tremendous for this community.
You know, having said that, with your connections, I think you've reached out and got a lot of things done by using those connections.
I think we have, yeah. And again, it's just understanding that I'm not the only person in the room, that other people come to me with very good ideas, and if it's a very good idea, then, you know, let's make it work. You know, whether I just had John Craddock in my office earlier today on his Craddock Wetlands Preserve out there off of Bunch Boulevard with some things that we want to do over the next year or two. Well, you know, great ideas. Or last night I was at the South Side Community Development meeting, and some ideas that they had out there. They're great ideas. Well, you know, and whatever it takes to continue to bring our community together, to work together to make our community a better place to live, work, and play, and raise a family, I'm going to do it.
How many awards have you won? I don't know the answer to that. I know I've been at some of them. You've won different awards and was recognized all over the state by different things. How many awards have you won since you've been as mayor?
Oh, I don't know. I don't count. They're always something that you're so honored by. I guess one of them that means so much to me was the ARC of Indiana's Lifetime Achievement Award. I think the ARC's been in the state of Indiana probably for 60 years, and they've only given out, I think, 6 or 7 of those awards. And for them to recognize me for my work with people with disabilities and that's pretty special, and I would hope that it means a lot to my community too. Is that the ARC of Indiana doesn't take an award like that lightly, and I was very humbled by it. I just can't put any other word to it other than just honored and humbled, and it meant a lot to me.
I was down at that breakfast, and I know you was humbled by it, and a very worthy and outstanding award.
And I didn't know it was going to happen.
Really?
No, I didn't. And that even that was almost like getting hit with a left hook and not knowing it was coming. Yeah.
But you have, and if anybody's looking, can tell that you are very empathetic to people with disabilities, and you have a very good working relationship with the Hillcroft Center.
Oh, yes.
And I don't have it in front of me, but I have one of the calendars from Hillcroft, and you and one of the...
Sandy.
Yeah, Sandy.
Oh, yes, yeah.
On
She's
one of
a
those
beautiful
pages.
lady. Yeah, she's part of our cleaning crew up at City Hall, and she's just a sweetheart. Loves John Cena with the WWE, loves John Cena as much as my father-in-law does. And she is just an absolute sweetheart.
But that's, and with the bathhouse and everything, is there out Prairie Creek, and I know, you know, there's a special setup for people with disabilities. Is there anything like that in the state of Indiana?
No. And from the bathhouse to the concession stand to the trails coming out of the parking lot over into the playground area, coming around the playground area, over and around the bathhouse, the walkways through the beach area and that, there's nothing else like it. And then once we get all that done, and then we incorporate that into that small swimming area out there for wheelchair and handicap access, it'll be unlike any other public park in the Midwest. It's just a fantastic project. I'm so proud of it. Here we are again. We're trying to give every person in this community the same opportunity to be at a beautiful, beautiful reservoir and swimming facility and playground facility, and regardless of what your disability issue is, you will have the same access to that recreation as anybody else with no disabilities. And I think that just sets us apart in something that we should be so proud of. And you can't put a price tag on that.
No, and you know, let's talk about Prairie Creek. There's a lot of different things going on out there.
Yes.
Can you tell us about those?
Oh golly, you know, we have new cabins that will be rentable this year that we're putting up out there that face out over the lake with a campfire area and a front porch. You know, we have horse riding trails out there. They have bicycling trails, walking trails. The SUV, the little mopeds or whatever it is, they have trails for them out there, Roger. We have a beautiful campground facility out there. We have all those slips for boats and pontoons. We're hoping if everything goes right this year and we get all the permits done, that we'll have a new fueling station there by the launching area. You know, we have a sailboat club out there. It's just a beautiful, beautiful facility, and with the playground area and that having the handicap access that it's going to have to it and everything, it's just a beautiful, beautiful public park, and it's just I'm so proud of it. And then what we're doing to give handicap access into that swimming area and beach area, to me just makes me so proud of our community.
And you know, when you mentioned the fueling station, I am very surprised with all the boats that use Prairie Creek Reservoir. There's never been one there before.
Yeah. Well, there was years and years ago, way back around behind where the bait shop is, and then there was some IDEM issues with it. But the way that we're moving forward with this, and a lot of those regulations have changed over the years, and what we're attempting to do with this, we think DNR and IDEM are going to be very supportive of what we're doing, and we'll be able to have it set up there real nice on one pier to where we can have the fueling station will be here, but the hoses and everything will be here, and it'll work real well.
And Ivan's doing a real good job out there.
Ivan's doing a good job. You know, we have they have of course they have the campgrounds out there, and then Jason Donetti does a program out there every year for children for a week. Or
Camp Prairie.
Oh, that Camp Prairie, and that's just so cool. You know, my grandson goes out there.
He loves it.
Oh, he loves it. Yeah, well, all the kids do that go out there do.
Oh, they have
Jason,
a great time.
Oh, Jason does just a great job with them kids. You know, and he's the director now of the Muncie Clean and Beautiful, and is doing a great job with it. But Prairie Creek is it's a crown jewel for East Central Indiana, and now with the handicap access and ADA accessibility that we're going to have 24 hours a day out there at that beach area, that's going to be a facility like nothing else in the Midwest.
I know it's one of the best kept secrets sometimes.
It is.
And
Yeah.
you know, but been out there several times. Ron Bottom Day last couple of years.
Yeah. And they're planning on this year during the Ron Bonham Day and weekend. The same weekend we'll have a fireworks show out there. There will be a skiing tournament exhibition out there.
Oh, really?
Twice on I believe July the 5th. We're getting it set up. Yeah, which should be pretty cool and pretty exciting. Yeah, professional skiers will be coming in and doing their thing and their demonstrations for 2 different shows. Yeah.
Well, we're about to run out of time, but
Okay.
I think you enjoy being mayor.
I do. I enjoy my role as mayor and giving back to my community. And my community's been so good to me, and it's just a way for me to try and give back. There's challenges every day, just like these potholes. But through those challenges, we all get stronger, and we all get better, and we all come together, and that's what really matters.
Well, I can't grade you because I work for the city, but I think you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
And you know me, I'm reluctant to say things like that if I didn't believe it, but I can tell, and I'm being serious about this because, you know, I've known you since for 20 years. You've been a firefighter, you've been in different roles in the community.
Mm-hmm.
You've been with the East Central Labor Council, and state representative, and now mayor. And I mean, I think you've given back.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I do want to give kudos out to my family too. I couldn't do what I do today if I didn't have a very caring wife and son and daughter and their families. There's so many things that they do that I probably should be there with them sometimes that I'm not, and they just pick it up and go right on, and my wife does the same thing, just like yesterday, I think I left the house at 6:30, Roger, and I got home at 9 o'clock last night, and she's there waiting to give me something to eat, and has me a fruit smoothie to drink. So
Can't go wrong with that.
No, you can't. And anybody that does what I do or you do or other people do that are involved, if you don't have the proper spouse and family around you, it's going to be very hard to be very successful for very long. And I've been very fortunate, and God's been good to me and to my family, and I've got a great community that I'm serving, and I appreciate you having me on.
I appreciate you being here.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching Community Focus. Community Focus would like to thank the following underwriters for their help and support with our productions. Put your business up for everyone to see. Hometown Outdoor Advertising, 288-9000. Wishbone Gifts Incorporated, corner of Walnut and Jackson Street in Muncie. Best Built Computers, 25 years experience in computer repairs. 413 South Tillotson Avenue, Suite 1. Crime Stoppers. Tips can pay up to $1,000. 286-4050. You don't have to give your name. McGalliard Guns and More. 800 West McGalliard, Muncie, Indiana. 765-288-GUNS. This show is produced by Millennium Productions Incorporated. Thanks for watching.